Welcome back. It's yours truly, Buckley on Air. We're here with another episode of Back to Life, and I have somebody dear from Florida State University. Um, Say, how have you been? Uh,
Good. I've been good.
Good, good.
Busy, but good.
That's well, busy is better than not being busy. I
Didn't
feel
be
like,
doing nothing. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
I got you. So we're gonna talk about your career, going from high school, college, and then post career. But to start, where are you from?
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. So if you had a little accent, that's where it's from.
Okay, I was about to say that. I heard you talking earlier, and I was like, it definitely sounded like you got an accent.
Yeah, from Boston.
I got you. So obviously I know you from college, and we'll get there. And you play basketball, but for you, growing up in Boston, what was that like? And then why basketball?
I'll start with my basketball first. I didn't really have a choice. I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. But then we also have a single mother. I was forced to choose basketball just because my mom didn't want to drive to two different places. So like at first I played soccer. And then she was like, "Your sister's older, so you got to pick a sport, and it has to be basketball." So I was like, "Okay." So that's how I got into basketball. And then once my sister and I started getting kind of good at it, then my uncle started an AAU team for us called Boston Showstoppers back in 2007. My sister and I were like the first two kids on the team, and then we also had like some of our friends that we grew up with, who used to like play at the park with and stuff that we brought on after that. And so just kind of went from there, like started playing AAU, and then just kept playing and going to showcases and stuff from there.
Got you. So I never played high level
Mhm.
basketball, but what was the journey like in terms of getting there? Like being a gym rat, like what aspects and things did you have to do to get to be able to be that player?
Yeah, I think I think we learned like as we went. Like when my uncle first started, like started the AAU program, he was like fresh out of college. He had his master's. He was like an accountant at a big firm. I forget the firm, but he was accountant. And so we were learning with him as he was going, like figuring out how to have an AAU team, like what to do. Like all he knew is that he had two nieces that wanted to play basketball, how to be able to help them get to the places they want to get to. And then it like organically came from like, okay, they're getting kind of good. Like, where can we go from here? Maybe they can go to college for free. Like, I got my first scholarship offer when I was in seventh grade. And so that's when we kind of realized that, okay, like I might be kind of decent at this. And free school may be an option. Um, and before it was just kind of for fun. And then once I got the offer from Rutgers at seventh grade, it was like, okay, like now we got to kind of take this serious. Like, let's get in the gym more, shooting better, things like that. So.
Got you. What was it like getting that first offer, especially in middle school?
Yeah, I didn't really know what it meant, honestly. I was just like, obviously the adults and stuff like that knew what it meant, but I was just like, oh, they like me. Like I never knew because I was just so naive to everything. Like I didn't knew what going to college for free was or getting a scholarship was. Like I just knew that I was playing and I was pretty good at it. I never knew like the magnitude in which it was, or even what Rutgers was at the time either, being a Power Five. I didn't know what it was. I was just like, okay, like that's, and then people start telling me like, oh, that's really, really good, like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I still don't understand it or grasp it until I got to like ninth grade, eighth grade, really, but like eighth grade, ninth grade, when I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of serious.
Got you.
Yeah.
So once you get to high school, and I imagine traction continued to pick up in terms of
Mhm.
colleges. What was that experience like having in-home visits, taking your official visits, unofficial?
Yeah, so mine was a little bit interesting because my ninth grade spring, I tore my ACL in high school. So that spring, so this is like I think it was like 2014 or something like that. That spring I tore my ACL, and so my 10th grade year I didn't play at all just because I was recovering. And so like I had offers and stuff like that from seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, but then when I didn't play the 10th grade year, like they just didn't see me anymore. And so kind of was weighing like, do I reclass? Like, what do I do? I go to a prep school to get like the traction back and stuff like that. Like, I already had like schools that still wanted me, but you never know how someone's gonna come back after a knee. And then my 10th grade year, like when I did come back the next spring, my 10th grade year, my very first like showcase tournament, I did awful. Like so god awful. That like I wouldn't say I lost scholarships. I would say like people are just like not as interested anymore because they were like, okay, she tore ACL, she's not gonna be the same. And then so that was April, and then come July, I like lost a lot more weight. Like I got back in the gym again, like more consistently, trying to figure out like what my knee was moving like, things like that. And then I got all my offers back again. And so then just came from there, 10th grade, 11th grade. And then 11th grade is when they were at, Florida State actually started recruiting me. They were really looking for another girl that was on the team, on a different team. I think Coach White saw me. So, but in terms of like the visits, it was cool. Like the visits were cool. Like I had a lot of home visits that came to our house. Obviously official visits, but the home visits were probably I like those better because I didn't have to travel. But then also it made it seem like the schools wanted you more, like more interest because they were like in your house. They were seeing like where you went to school, who was in the house. Like my little brother was really little at the time, so they would have him screaming. He was a baby at the time, but like had him stuff like that. So it was cool to just have those schools kind of come in the house.
Got you. So you mentioned the ACL tear in high school. For you, obviously you have that injury and then there's a recovery process and trying to get back to hooping again.
Mhm.
What was it like going through that? But also, like you said, scholarships or teams were not as interested in at that time. Like usually that's a time where a person can be like, "Oh, woe is me," and wallow in their misery. You clearly
Yeah.
didn't do that. How did you get through that?
Yeah, I think my sister actually hurt her knee first. So she was an example for a lot of the stuff that I went through, her being older. Like she went through the recruiting process first, in terms of like college recruiting. She went through the home visits first before me. She went through an ACL before me. So like she was more so like the blueprint to know how to do stuff. And so just kind of copying her pretty much, like what she did, what she could have done better, like just learning from her, learning from the things that she went through. So the first one I kind of got a cheat code because I know what she went through, like having to lose weight, having to do a whole bunch of things. Um, so I kind of knew from there. But in terms of like mentally what it does to you, it definitely takes a toll from, being highly sought after to people just being like, all right, she's washed now. So, but I don't really take it as like too bad. Like at first I was like really hard on myself mentally, especially after the tournament that I did god awful. But from there it was just like how can I get better to get back to where I was and even better than what I was. So just kind of having, your sights on a mission and going to get it, honestly.
Got you. So as you progress through that, and you go finish out high school,
Mhm.
college is the next step. What was the process for you in terms of picking the school and then why Florida State?
Yeah, so this is a good question. When So my last two school, like I was really smart in high school. So it was either I go to like a really smart academic school or I go to a basketball school that I wanted to, or I do something like in the middle. That was like my three options. And so I never really, my last two schools that I came down to were Harvard and Florida State. Obviously Harvard's Harvard and I'm from here, so it writes itself in terms of like the story. But for me, my main thing was if I'm gonna be away from my family, if I'm gonna be in a situation where I'm gonna be around new people, and have people who are like second mothers or uncles or things like that in terms of coaches, and teammates, I wanted to feel like I was comfortable at all times. And outside of the education and things like that, obviously like Harvard's Harvard, like that's going to be there. But outside of the education and stuff like that, I never really felt like I fit in really. Like I never feel like the kids were like fitted like look like me. They did for the most part, but in terms of like they didn't really act like me or like I didn't really feel comfortable at all while I was there. And then at the same time too like Coach Sue, Coach White, they would come all the way up from Tallahassee to come see me, like in the cold. Coach White would have like shorts on and t-shirts, not knowing what the hell the weather was. And they saw me like four or five times, like traveling to come see me, like came to games, came to my house, like different things like that. Whereas like the Harvard, they were 30 minutes out the way, they never came to see me. At school, didn't come to no games, none of that. So I never really felt like it was they wanted me outside of doing anything for basketball. They didn't want me like as a kid. They didn't, and I told them that too. Like they didn't. they didn't do enough to be that close or to make me feel like it was a home that I should be at for the next 4 years. Whereas Sue and Coach White did. And then obviously they knew that I was really education oriented too. So during the visits, like they did things that made me feel like the education was good, things like that. But it really came down to like being that far away and having like a family away from home, and then also like the connecting with the teammates, things like that. So
Got you. So when you did come on your visits, I think I might have even been
I
there
think
when
you
you
were
did.
actually.
I probably was.
Yeah.
Was there obviously the coaches are probably the main factors, but were there any players that were already on the team that you connected with when you did come?
Yeah, so I think so Ivy was my what is it called? My host. She was my host. And so I connected with her. She was really cool. And then honestly it was like the whole weekend everything happened so quick. It was like a blur for the most part. But obviously Ivy because she took me everywhere 'cause she had to because I was because she was my host. But everybody was pretty much cool for the most part, but things happened so quick like there were so many things. Like I was meeting so many people. I didn't know anybody's name except for the coaches. Um, and so yeah, but everybody was pretty much cool though.
Got you. So you make the decision, you coming down from Boston all the way down to Tallahassee.
Mhm.
For you, how was your college experience and at Tallahassee or at FSU?
Um, After it was cool. Like I really liked it. Like my first summer. So the summer was really really fun. Like I had AJ who was what was she? She's like a fifth year, fourth year, something like that at the time. She transferred from TCU, so she was somebody that I really looked up to because she was a point guard in my position. She also drove me everywhere too, as the youngest one. And that whole summer, I was there by myself because Savvy, she was still in England playing for her national team. So I was the only freshman there at the time, and we were the only two freshmen that came in that year. And so I was the youngest one down there by myself. But everybody was really cool. I really liked it. And then that summer, though, I ended up tearing my ACL again. So from there, it was like a blur having to go through all that again. But played where did we go? We went to Spain and Italy for a foreign trip, which was really nice. That was really fun. But yeah, I really liked it. It was fun.
You mentioned something I was going to get to because I was actually there when you tore your ACL. And that one, to me, I was scared. Like, I never seen anybody tear the ACL. And correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, when you tore it, you started laughing.
Yeah, I swore some stuff, but because I already knew like and it was fine in terms of like I knew what it was because I had already did it. But it wasn't great. It definitely hurt, but it wasn't fun. And that's why everybody thought I was playing too, because I was like laughing and not really serious about it
I,
until we actually did the MRI and stuff.
I remember I was looking, I'm like, bro, they just said she tore her ACL and she was laughing. Like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, it's so unfortunate.
No, it
Coach
is.
White was like crying. I was like, it's okay.
It's tough though. So and that was that your freshman year or your sophomore year?
My freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously the torn ACL deters how things are going to go.
Mhm.
Was there an expectation for you to play that year?
Yeah, I was supposed to back up AJ. Especially because I had a really good foreign trip. I played really well there. And then like I had a pretty decent summer too. So I was supposed to back up AJ, but then ended up having AJ played a lot of minutes. So they ended up she had to play a lot of minutes. And obviously I was supposed to like sporadically, even if I weren't gonna like fully back her up, obviously because I was still a freshman, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, I was still supposed to get my feet wet for next year when she wasn't there and I was supposed to come into the spot.
Got you. So obviously there's another recovery process.
Hmm.
This time, second time, and then this time also, even though you told me like in high school you tore it and your sister was an example for you, what was the process this time around when you're in college? Seemingly you're alone. Obviously you got your teammates, but
Yeah.
the example that you had in high school is not there anymore.
Yeah, the second time was the hardest. So I told myself 3 times total. So the second time was definitely the hardest, only because like I still obviously like everything goes through your head in terms of like, damn, I should have went to this school. I should have went to Harvard. Like nothing would have probably happened to me. I would have been fine. I'm far away from home now. Like obviously I had people telling me like, oh my God, why would you go to Florida State over Harvard? All that stuff. That's like my immediate family too. saying all that. And so that was like one of the hardest parts going through that in terms of like figuring out if I actually made the right decision or not. And then being away from home. So I ended up going home to get my surgery. I spent I was at home for like a month and a half or something like that just because I couldn't travel. And because my mom didn't want me to get surgery in Florida because Mass is the best doctors. So she wanted me to come home. So just being away for the team, like the official visits, like I wasn't there for pretty much all of them except for like one. Of like the new kids who were coming who were gonna be my teammates next year. So I didn't get to see them a lot. But it was definitely their hardest and just being away in terms of mentally, like nutrition wise having to get that back, it was definitely the hardest. But we had Emily made it easy in terms of like our trainer, and then we also had student trainers. The first one was Rachel, so they made it easy to be able to, get back in terms of physically, but like mentally, it was a lot.
Gotcha. So while you were at Florida State, because originally when you were talking about being recruited, Coach Sue,
Hmm.
Coach White, while you were there, Coach White then takes the job at Pitt, correct?
Hmm.
So what is that like as the player, as you and Coach White was also the guards coach at
Yeah,
Florida State. So you being a guard, you being recruited by somebody, and then they leave. Obviously, Coach Sue was still on those visits, and you do have a relationship with her. But I imagine that you were closer to Coach White. So what's that like for you?
yeah. Yeah, he was my guy. He was definitely my guy. He still is my guy, but like he used to FaceTime me all the time. For me, since the first year that I was supposed to be there, he was supposed to coach me, just never got to. But for me, I didn't really take it too hard. Obviously, like I was upset that he recruited me and he wasn't gonna be there for he wasn't there for my second. Yeah, he took the job right after my first year. But I was more so happy for him and like proud of him because he wanted to be a head coach. Like he had always dreamed of being a head coach. And so like I had already created that bond with him to know like that was one of the things he wanted to do. So I wasn't too upset about that. Obviously I was sad to see him go and like sad to see like he wasn't actually gonna coach me or anything like that. But I was mostly just proud of him. Like I used to go to dinner at his house with his family, like with Mel, his kids. So like I was more so just happy that he got to be what he wanted, which was a head coach. So at a Power Five at that. So I was
Right.
more so happy for him. Other people may not have been, but I was more so happy for him just because I knew that's kind of what he wanted.
Yeah, I wasn't privy to the people not being happy. I wasn't in that part of those conversations.
Yeah.
But
It was definitely some.
so you do 2 years. So the first year you deal with injury. Did you play your second year?
I did play my second year.
How was that? You come back from injury and now you get to play in D1.
Yeah, so that year was also a blur. And it was a blur because like I got back like and it was fine. First of all, it was really hard to even be able to move again, never mind like try to slide my feet on defense. But that year also my grandmother passed away. And so my whole life I had been with her in terms of like she when I was really, really little, her house burned down. And so she had lived with us since literally like as long as I can remember, probably like since I was like 8. And up, maybe like 6 or 7. She had always lived with me like for as long as I remember. In a two-family house. Like we would live in one house, she lived in one next to us. And so that year was pretty much a blur because she got diagnosed with cancer in October, like the end of October, I want to say. And then I ironically had broke my hand, like maybe couple days before they told me she had cancer. And so because I had broke my hand, I was out like the first 5 games, and so I was able to go see her while she was in the hospital and stuff. But then she ended up passing away that January. She ended up passing away that January, but like she was in hospice for a while, so like that whole year was pretty much a blur for me, honestly. But I was playing, but it was just like I wasn't in it just because I was too worried about like my family being away from home. My sister was still in college, my little brother was just at home, and then my mother was just at home as well, so that year was a blur. But I did play.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So most people, when they watch sports, they don't think about the athlete being a person. They just think
Yeah.
about them performing on the court. And you
Mhm.
just touched on dealing with personal things. Not that I want you to like dive into like what actually happened, but I just want you to talk about what it's like to deal with personal things and then play and then potentially not playing as well. Or even if you are, like
Mhm.
that's not easy. And most people never play sports and they just be like, oh, you didn't play well, or you sold on my parlay, or whatever they
Yeah,
be saying.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely like it's hard to separate a lot of time, especially when your head isn't. in the game or in the situation. Like I remember one game where it was a tournament game. I think we ended up losing. But we had played Duke that day or something like that. But I remember like the night before, even like the day of, like I was just crying a lot because my little brother had called me. And so like I didn't even want to be there. So it's hard to like it's definitely hard for like people even have trouble going to work when they're sad, like things like that. So it's definitely like ridiculous that people would like not think about them as a person because they see them putting the ball in the hoop or who they are like outside in their profession, so to speak, or whatever they're doing. I think people forget that people have to go home and be a person as well outside of the thing that, either gives them a scholarship or gives them money. And people are so glamorized now that it's hard to see somebody as a person or see somebody outside of the thing that they do all the time, because they're just so romanticized and looked at as celebrity or whatever type of way it is. So,
Right. So now you did the 2 years, and you played freshman, sophomore year,
mhm.
um, and then you decide to transfer. What went into your decision to transfer, and how was that process?
Yeah, so I ended up transferring. I did 4 years at Florida State, so I ended up transferring after the fourth year. So I tore my ACL my freshman year. I played my sophomore year, but then my grandmother passed away. So again, it was like a blur. And then my third year, I tore my ACL again. So that was the third time. And then the last year was COVID. And so that one was also a blur within itself because our season ended. And we were supposed to be really good, and we were really good. We had just lost in the championship to NC State in the tournament championship. And then the season just ended out of nowhere. Like we couldn't go to tournament. I think we were supposed to host and everything that year. But so I ended up transferring the year after that, mainly because I wanted a new scenery. Like I just wanted to do something different. Like I had been the kid that tore ACL every other time while at Florida State. And so I wanted just a new aspect, something for other people to look at me outside of the person who just keeps hurting her knees all the time. And then just want a new environment. And that's pretty much why I transferred and just gradually came up closer to home and ended up going to Rutgers after.
When you went to Rutgers, was C. Vivian Stringer still the coach?
She was there. So she was technically on paper, but she wasn't actually there because she just like had health stuff. So and it was still COVID time. So she wasn't around as much. But she
Gotcha.
was the coach. And we did see her every once in a while, but she was the coach.
How was it? How was that season with Rutgers for you?
We played awful, but I did decent, but as a team, we did awful. We weren't very good that year, for sure. We had good people, like we definitely had like the right pieces. They just weren't fitting together too coherently. So, but overall, it was nice to be closer to home though. Like for me, like I had been away for 4 years, and I was able to like go to my little brother's basketball tournaments or hockey tournaments that he had, all this like see him for certain activities that he had, like go home for family events. Like we do like a event, like a party every year for my grandmother who passed away, so I was able to easily go to that. Just drive down for the weekend, come back. So it was better to be closer to home for me, honestly.
Got you. So was that a medical red shirt year for you, or was that a
I don't
COVID
even know. It
year?
was like I could have picked which one I wanted it to be, honestly. It could have been COVID, it could have been medical because I had two medical redshirt years and then I had the COVID year. So I really could have just picked which one it was.
Got you. So did you only do the 1 year at Rutgers, or did you do another two? Because I know you transferred from Rutgers to Rhode Island.
To Rhode Island, yeah. So I only did one at Rutgers and then one at Rhode Island. And I technically still had another year to play. But I was like, my knees were done.
So again, with you transferring from Rutgers to Rhode Island, what was that process like? Because I mean, personally, now I'm starting to see a lot of people transferring,
Mhm.
and it's interesting. But for you to go from FSU do the 4 years, Rutgers for the 1 year, and then to Rhode Island, what went into that decision?
Yeah, so mainly because we had at Rutgers, so Vivian Stringer ended up retiring that year, just based saying she wasn't coming back. And then they just took a really long time in terms of picking a coach and choosing a coach. And I didn't want to be with somebody I didn't know or didn't or not like or just literally have no idea. And then most of the team was leaving, in terms of graduating or transferring. So I was like, I'm not even gonna do it. And then ended up I ended up getting in the portal like the very last day. And then one of the first coaches that reached out to me was Tammy Reese, who had saw me at Florida State. She was at Syracuse before. And me and her just kicked it off. Love her down. So and it was pretty easy from there. And my sister had been at Rhode Island, so I had already knew the school. Like I didn't need to go on a visit, none of that, because I used to go up with my sister to visits, to see her play, like to hang out with her teammates. So it was pretty much an easy choice for me from there.
Got you. So after Rhode Island, that wraps up your career.
Mhm.
Typically speaking, athletes try to play overseas and things like that.
Mhm.
Was that ever a thought for you? I know you dealt with knee injuries, but was that
Yeah.
ever a thought for you?
I thought about it for like maybe a day, only because I'm like, what else am I gonna do? But then I'm like, definitely not. And I'm like, they don't got no ice over there. Like, I need ice for my knees. I can't. Some people, and then all of my friends that I knew were like, don't go overseas. They either not paying you or you got to go to a really good club. And I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. And I don't want to be like 7 hour time difference, like be lonely as hell. So I was like, it's not happening. I'm not doing it.
Got you. Speaking of like playing professionally or overseas, when you dealt with some of the injuries in college, did it ever cross your mind like I may not be able to do the overseas thing? And did you have to reconcile with that?
Yeah, so I think after the second one, it was like, okay, these hoop dreams might not happen just because I felt like when I was doing good and it got really, really hard, I'm like, how can I even sustain having to go through two knees? And they were on alternating knees at that. Like my first one was my right in high school and then left in college. The first one in college was left. And so just like how am I even gonna sustain doing this? Because my knees were hurting even in high school, like after the first one. So just being like, how am I gonna sustain like playing overseas, especially with a different culture, different language? Like how am I even gonna do that? So it was something like a learning curve for me to come to terms with that. Okay, these hoop dreams might not work out.
Got you. Okay. So, and this is the main idea of this podcast is
Mhm.
you went you played collegiately, ball's gonna stop bouncing, you're still young. Once that's done with, you've gotten your degree. Did you get your master's at Rhode Island?
I at Rutgers and Rhode Island.
Okay. So you got double masters.
Hmm.
Okay. So with doing that, now, like I said, basketball's over with. You're gonna go and be a regular citizen
Yeah.
to the general public. What industry did you initially go into?
So I was a finance major. And so I originally went into just doing, so I got an internship while I was in college at Florida State. And so my internship was with Northwestern Mutual. So I ended up just staying with them and then going to a firm called Crossroad Capital. And so as I was going through my needs and stuff and realizing that, okay, these hoop dreams aren't helping or aren't working anymore, I had to figure out, okay, what is it that I actually want to do post basketball, post college? And started looking into different stuff. And then looking into stuff within my major because I wanted to do something with money, something with finance, especially because that was my major. And so it was kind of easy for me to transition out of school and after school into that. So I went to finance first, and then while I was in school, though, I was always thinking about starting a company or starting something, seeing the need that I had and the struggles that I went through to kind of better the next athlete and better all athletes as a whole, which is why I started Complete, which is the background, which is essentially a comprehensive software that combines like athletic operations, so like all the stuff we use for scheduling, communication on a team side and university basis, but then also with easily accessible tools for athletes, so adding nutrition stuff, adding mental health stuff, all in one platform versus having to go to different stuff or having to reach out to a coach and be like, I'm going through a hard time. Can you help me? Or having to text nutritionist like, hey, I'm at this restaurant. So just giving easily accessible tools for athletes that I didn't have or didn't know where to go for it. And then also adding stuff that they need like logistically for their school. So
Perfect. So with the complete, and congratulations on starting a business because that's not
thank you.
easy.
It's hard.
And that's something that I want you to speak about is you had an idea, you saw a need, and you decided to create this company and go forward with it. What was some of the things that you learned through your basketball career as well as just creating a company and starting one? What things did you learn and what was like really important for you?
Yeah, so I think all the things I learned like basketball wise or like even like my whole journey like has transitioned into the company now. Like I still feel like I'm aging like milk because it's so goddamn hot. But I swear, but just like the resilience part of it, like there's gonna be bad days, there's gonna be good days. But honestly just keep going. Like even with like my knees, just like you can be sad for a day after that, like you gotta figure it the hell out. Same thing with the company, like something if there's a fire you gotta put out or something bad happens, like okay, what's the next step? What are you gonna do about it? Versus like sulking in it and like feeling it. Like you can feel it and feel all the things you're gonna feel at the same time. You gotta figure out a way out of it. And that's the same kind of approach I take with the company, take with Complete, and being able to, navigate and pivot when things don't go right, or being able to help manage a team. Like since I was a point guard, it's easier for me to like kind of communicate with different people, make sure people are in the right spots. Same thing I did with being a point guard, like making sure the guys are in the right spots, the power forward, the centers, all that. And same thing I do with managing our team now, being able to make sure everyone knows what we're doing. We're on the same page, the goals we're trying to get, and where we're going with things. So definitely translate to both.
Gotcha. Got a couple last few questions.
Hmm.
So with their company and doing all of that, what would or just in general, what would be something that you would tell like a younger generation of athletes um to look forward to or to do that allow them to have success, whether it's in their sports or post career?
Yeah. I would say the number one thing I would say figure out who you are outside of your sport. And the earlier you do that, the better it is for you when you do stop. Because there's a in sports when your whole when you grow up playing sports or you're an athlete, like your whole life becomes like you being an athlete, like that becomes your whole identity. And so when it stops, because it is gonna stop for everybody, when it stops, it's a learning curve to be like, okay, I don't even know who the hell I am anymore outside of this sport. So I think the earlier you figure out what you want to do, not necessarily like specifically, but even have some sort of like outline, like, oh, I like to do this outside of my sport. I like to do this, I like to do that. Like figuring out what it is you like outside of, being an athlete, and that'll help you as you get out of school and as you come to the end of your career to be able to really figure out like okay the ball is going to stop or I'm going to stop being able to run, things like that, like to figure out what to do. So that's definitely number one thing, just figuring out who you are outside your sport.
Got you. And then last thing, NIL's a thing now.
Yeah,
Were you there when NIL started?
I was like the last like group before they started paying kids. I'm tight about it. I didn't
So
get it.
so for you then, if you did have the luxury of being around when NIL, how well do you think you would have did? And then what like and I also want to know like what do you think of NIL?
Yeah, so I'm very realistic with myself in my ability. So I'm not gonna like shoot myself down, but I would say like I'm a community kid. Like I would have been, helping the community stuff. I wouldn't have been um let's say like the jujus and stuff of the world. Like I'm not, that wasn't my level to get the million, 2 million. But I would have got my little 25, 30, or some and been in the community or something with it. So that was definitely my level. And obviously that would have been a great ass jump start to get into this, especially because I wanted what I wanted to do with Complete. But then also NIL in general is such a as a finance background, um, it's if you don't have the right people in terms of like even like parents who know what to do with money or even have some type of guidance, um, it's gonna, I don't say ruin a lot of kids. I would say it's gonna hurt a lot of kids only because they just don't know what to do with the money. Like they're getting so much money at a such young age, and priorities change. And as you get older, like you don't know stuff until you go through it, or like because like hindsight is 2020, and so being able to look at stuff like, damn, I should never did that, or I should never did this. Just having people around them who know what they're doing, but then also the kids having enough discernment to be like, okay, maybe this guy's trying to take advantage of me, stuff like that. So it's really it's hard. Like it's I can imagine like it's tough for all the kids like having to figure out like is this person just trying to take advantage of me? What do I even do with all this money? Like I want to go buy this, I want to go buy that. How do I also save for the future when all I can see is that I'm going to the NBA or whatever it is? So I know it's a lot for the kids, and so I'm sad I missed it. But I'm also not too envious of it because I know it's a lot and a lot to deal with, especially with like sports betting and stuff too. Like I know it's a lot.
Got you. So last question, being that you were a finance major and you did kind of touch on it a little bit in terms of being able to get that kind of money through
Mhm.
NIL and not knowing what to do with it, what advice would you give to somebody that gets NIL, whether it's big or small?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the regular advice that all the old heads would give you, like put some away for later. Um, which is very, very true. Like when it does stop, um like the checks just stop coming in once you're done playing. So what are you gonna do between like if you can't go overseas or if you can't go to the league, like what are you gonna do in between that idle period of time? And most people, especially like on the women's side, they're kind of either I'm gonna go overseas or I'm gonna go coach somewhere, especially if they were an athlete. And so there's still like an idle time. So I would just say like put as much away as you can. Like obviously be able to bask in the stuff that you worked hard for and the value that you have in terms of the money that you get. At the same time, like you have to put something away for not necessarily a rainy day, but when you don't want to play anymore or when it stops. So
Thank you. Thank you. I much appreciate you.
for sure. For
Stop the
sure.
recording.